We've got Houston taking on Longwood here. I don't think anybody's taking on Houston. We did talk about the fact that Longwood's coach does have some UMBC ties here, but are we all going with Houston in this one? Yeah, it's only
Yeah,
happened twice, and I don't this long. I think this Longwood team is going to make Houston sweat a little bit more than they maybe like, but this defense is overwhelming, and I like Houston's defense a lot. Let's jump to Nebraska and Texas A&M. This is an interesting matchup. Texas A&M came off really hot in the SEC tournament. They had to put a lot on the line and just ran out of gas against Florida. Playing Nebraska. Oh, I love the story about Nebraska this season. I mean, who doesn't? This is a lot of fun to talk about Nebraska getting back in to the NCAA tournament, and they love to shoot the basketball there for the Cornhuskers. This is a fun team to take a look at. Guys, who do you like between the Cornhuskers and the Aggies in this one?
give me Wade Taylor for the win. They've had to kind of dig themselves out of a slump to even make it into the tournament. And a lot of people are saying they don't deserve the 9 seed that they were given. So I'm hoping they prove everybody wrong and take out Nebraska in the first round.
I'm going to be one of those people who say they don't deserve a 9 seed. They deserve an 11. But Caleb, who do you got in this?
Yeah, give me Nebraska here in this one. I can't count on a buzz team right now. Just the way they ended last year, the previous year, barely missing out on the tournament. I just they've had a great season. Wade Taylor is a great player, but I really see Nebraska coming out with a win in this one.
Tominaga is an excellent shooter. He averages 14.8 points per game. And then you got Mast, who does a really good job on their rebounding. And Nebraska is actually winning the glass on a consistent basis in a league that's not easy to win the glass in. And they do a pretty good job of putting up points and holding teams to under 70 points a game. 69.2 is their average. They don't foul a lot either. And they hit almost 10 3-pointers a game. Give me the Cornhuskers to advance to the round of 32 to face Houston. I think that's going to be a lot of fun, but I think that's a coin flip game. I can't believe how many eights I've picked. That's totally against trend here, but not going to dismiss Texas A&M. Wade Taylor's a player who can drag you to some W's, and he's certainly a more than capable player. Let's jump to Wisconsin and James Madison here. Another 12-5 matchup that's extremely entertaining. Good grief. I mean, this has been a wild year. We didn't have a single 5 upset this year, but almost all the 12s can beat a 5 this season. James Madison won 30 games of the season. They were the conference champion in the Sun Belt. They're taking on a Wisconsin team that before the conference tournament was looking like they were lost, didn't know what they were doing, and people were even going to question if they were going to make the NCAA tournament. They were never really in doubt, but people who may have not known bracketology that well were like, is Wisconsin going to make it? Well, they made it, and they finished runner-up in the Big Ten tournament. Guys, who do you like between this matchup between Wisconsin and James Madison?
I really like this James Madison team. I picked them to win their conference championship, but I think Wisconsin's going to outclass them just a little bit with the talent level. So give me Wisconsin in this one.
Caleb, what are you thinking?
Give me the Dukes of James
Here
Madison
we
in this
go.
one. It's like you said, Nebraska or Wisconsin has seemed lost towards the end of the season, and James Madison is coming off of a 31-3 season into the tournament. And you got to look at Edwards Jr. for them, shooting 17.4, averaging 17.4 points per game, 82% from the line. Give me James Madison and get the upset in this one over Wisconsin.
This is insane because last year no 12s beat a 5. And here we are. We like a lot of these 12s this year. James Madison's darn good. I mean, they're a darn good team. But for the Badgers, this team, they have some of the worst luck on KenPom. The worst KenPom rating and luck that there is. The Badgers play at a slower pace. This is the second slowest team in the Big Ten. And James Madison's proven that they can totally beat Big Ten competition when they beat Michigan State earlier this season. Yeah. The rebounding is anything but elite on Wisconsin as well. I do like guys like Chucky Hepburn, and I do like AJ Storr for Wisconsin, but I'm going to go with Caleb here, and I can't believe how many 12s we're picking right now. I'm going James Madison, man. This is not a bad James Madison team, and I think it's scary enough to cause some issues. And they've beaten some quality teams in the Sun Belt. So give me James Madison in this. All right, let's turn to the next one. That'll advance James Madison to the round of 32. We got Duke versus Vermont. Vermont's one of those teams we see year after year. They're a popular one to pick because of the NCAA tournament experience and the way that they shoot. But they're picking on Duke, who's a quality team who may have lost that first round of the ACC tournament. There's actually a lot of sneaky under the radar stuff things to like about Duke. And of course, if you are a Christian Leitner hater, Kyle Filipkowski exists on this team for you to hate on this Duke team as well. So it's always there. All right. So what do you guys like, Duke or Vermont?
Give me Duke for this one. As much as I like Vermont, they had some questions about them going into their tournament finals. Um, had a rough draw there, so I'm gonna go with Duke.
All right, Caleb, who do you like?
Yeah, as much as I'd love to see the Catamounts advance on, this Duke team, I think, is just going to be too much, led by Filipowski. It's just one of those things where this is just a pure bad luck of the draw for Vermont as they go up against one of the blue bloods in college basketball and the Duke Blue Devils.
Yeah, this is a good Duke team. It's balanced. It's got a top tier offense. It finished second in the ACC. I don't really hold as much weight in conference tournaments as people normally talk about here. Philip Kelsey is one of the best draft picks, college players coming into this year's draft. This team is top 50 in assists in the country. Tyrese Proctor has a lot of things that he can contribute from passing the basketball. The offense, though, I do feel can be dismantled with the dominant big being used to take away the paint from this team. But it's going to take an athletic defender too at this point. And that's kind of how Arizona beat Duke earlier this year in Cameron. But I'm going to take Duke here. I like Duke to get this job done. This team's got a Sweet 16 Elite 8 feeling to this Duke team. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to advance the Blue Devils for us into the next round. Texas Tech versus North Carolina State. North Carolina State would not have been in the tournament if it had not been for the fact they beat North Carolina last night in the ACC championship. Guys, who do you like? Do you like the Red Raiders or do you like North Carolina State to continue this hot streak because they won 5 games in 5 days?
Give me North Carolina State. I like this upset here.
DJ Burns.
Yeah, I'll follow Maddie there. Give me NC State and DJ Horn and DJ Burns, the big man down low, working the paint against North Carolina. You got to love it. And then you also have DJ Horn that's playing 32 minutes a game and averaging nearly 17 points per game.
There's a lot to like there, man. Like that's a quality team for North Carolina State. There's a couple of players on this Texas Tech team that I think, everybody needs to get a little bit nervous about in this matchup. Red Raiders are good. They're not great, but they're good. They're a more than quality team. But yeah, I think when you look at Pops Isaac and Warren Washington, I don't know. But one game for North Carolina State would be wild, but I'm going to personally go with Texas Tech here. I'm going to go Texas Tech. That just seems to me like the better pick, but we will advance North Carolina State, you two, and we'll go ahead and take the 11 seed over the 6 here. Kentucky versus Oakland. I'm pretty confident in Kentucky here. This does not seem like an Oakland team that takes things down, but maybe you guys see something I don't out of the Horizon League champion, but who are you going with here? I know this is the worst. I'm going to be blunt here because Kentucky fans already hate me. Kentucky fans may have dreams about this being a national championship team, but I want people to understand this is the worst defense Cal has ever had in the Ken Palm era since he returned to college coaching. That includes teams at Memphis, and that includes the national championship team that was built like this. And then what we talked about, there's less and less McDonald's All-Americans in the national championship every year. Guys, what are you thinking here between Kentucky and Oakland?
As much as I like Oakland stats going into this, like you said, Horizon League champions, I think this Kentucky team has got too much offensively for them.
Caleb, what do you think?
Yeah, kind of similar to what Maddie said. I think Kentucky's going to get this one. You got their stud freshman, one of their stud freshmen, Reed Shepherd, that just can shoot the lights out of the gym. And I think he's going to be a big part of this team along with Antonio Reeves. So I think they take care of business here against Oakland.
Yeah, I'm going to go Kentucky too. That's going to be unanimous on us for that one. Let's go to Florida, who is going to be taking in one of the first 4 champions here between either Boise State or Colorado. Guys, who do you like in this setup here? Do you like the Gators? They did just lose Micah Handlogan down low for a gruesome injury in the SEC Tournament Championship. Prayers for Micah. But just looking at this matchup, do you like the Gators or do you like Colorado or Boise State in this matchup?
For Florida, if that unfortunate injury hadn't happened, I would have expected them to go farther in March than I think most people would. But with that injury, I think they're going to make it through the first round, but the second is going to be questionable for me. But I'm going to have them winning over either Boise State or Colorado.
Caleb, what are your thoughts here on the Gators?
Yeah, I'm gonna follow that same sentiment. Yeah, that's tough losing, a player like that and some depth. But I think they have enough to get by this first round. But when you start looking through future matchups, I think that's where they're gonna struggle some. But for this purposes, I think they move on to the second round.
I think if you got Boise State, that would certainly be the tougher matchup for Florida out of the two. But I'm certainly I like the Gators here. They got a wide range of scoring options from Walter Clayton, Zion Pullen, Tyrese Samuel, and Will Richard. They're all averaging above double figures for this team. They just came off a bad shooting day against Auburn. I don't think that's going to continue. Samuel, of course, Seton Hall transfer, is the leader in the front court. He often plays at the four, but you can put him anywhere and he can put up points in a hurry, and he plays solid defense. To me, give me the Gators in this one. To me, there's a reason I call him Alabama Junior. This is an analytically driven team that's just one step right now behind what Alabama does. This is Alabama with a front court, though. And that's what makes the Florida just a better team right now to pick in March. And certainly the reason why they've beaten Alabama twice is that they can do much better things in the front court. So give me the Gators here to advance to round of 32. Marquette versus Western Kentucky. What are you guys thinking here? Anything you like? I know Isaac talked that Western Kentucky was probably a little bit underseeded. You guys, is this the 2 versus 15 game?
I don't know if this is quite the 2 versus 15 game. I like Marquette, even though, I feel like they aren't as good as some people have expected them to be. I think they're going to get the job done and move on to the second round.
Caleb, what are your thoughts in this matchup?
Yeah, I got to follow that similar sentiment there. You know, as much as I would like to see that Western Kentucky team that has been said to be underseeded make a run there, I think Marquette gets the job done here in the first round and makes it to the round of 32.
We're here flirt with disaster. We've not picked a 2. We're not picked a 15 seed yet, and what's been a trend for the last 3 years. But like so many people have pointed out, because of the chaos that happened in a lot of these conference tournaments, some of these 15s and 16s are not as strong as they have been in years past. So I think Western Kentucky is really darn good. I think this might be another good opportunity for this to occur, but give me Marquette in this one. Tyler Kolek also is going to be a big player. I believe he's coming back for this game for Marquette. So, yeah, go ahead and give me Shaka Smart and the Marquette Golden Eagles. Let's go back to the top here, where we've got Houston taking on Nebraska. Or did we pick Nebraska or Texas A&M? I'm sorry.
Nebraska.
Okay. So we got Houston taking on Nebraska in this one. Guys, what are your thoughts? Like, this is going to be a weird one. Got a lot of defense playing a lot of offense.
This is a really weird one. Houston made me nervous in their conference tournament, their last game of that. But I think they might edge out Nebraska. It really is another coin flip game for me. It depends on what Houston team we see. But if we see the consistent Houston team that we saw pretty much throughout the season, I think we see Houston get the win here.
Caleb, who are you going with?
Yeah, I think a Houston team with Kelvin Sampson, they made that run last year. I think they retooled, come back, played very consistent this year, and like we said, have the ability to score. So I think that Houston moves on to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, to me, even in that Iowa State loss, the Houston defense didn't go anywhere. It was still there. It was just their offense just could not live up to it. And this is a fascinating defense to analyze. Drop coverage for most teams is the answer for dealing with ball screens, because the roller is typically the most effective shooter per shot. That's not what Houston does. They hedge screens as much. They don't really hedge screens as much as attack the line of scrimmage that's created on the ball handler, and it's really more of a blitz. And you're going to hear commentators call it a trap. And I don't know if Nebraska's talented enough to deal with just how aggressive this Houston defense is. This is not an analytically driven defense, but it's effective, and it really works. To me, offenses can play against them. They're going to need a solid passing attack, and I just don't know if Nebraska's talented enough for this Houston team. So give me Houston to advance in this one to the Sweet 16. Let's jump down the line here, where we got James Madison taking on Duke. Is this the end of the run for the Dukes against Duke?
I'm going to go with the Blue Devils in this one. Like you guys said in the last round, James Madison, a great team, only with 3 losses on their resume, but the Duke Blue Devils, pretty balanced team. I think they're going to be able to overcome it.
I would agree with that sentiment. I'm going to go ahead and say Duke. Caleb, are you with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Duke.
Duke's in a different class. But like, yeah, James Madison get the upset over Wisconsin. Yeah, and then I got Duke advancing to the Sweet 16. Let's go to Pittsburgh for that round of 32. Who's going to go in the Sweet 16 between North Carolina State and Kentucky? This is more intriguing than we originally talked about it because I'm thinking about something right now. But how do you guys see this matchup?
It's a tough one.
I
I
really
mean, we've got two teams that are really hot when it comes to their offense right now. Um, that front court matchup is going to be tough. Um, but give me Cal and give me Kentucky.
Yeah, okay. I can understand. I can respect that. That's certainly the more talented team with the more experienced coach in March. But Caleb, how do you see this one?
Yeah, you gotta love what you're seeing from both sides of this. Really good Kentucky team that can shoot the ball really well. But like you said, David, their defense has been their Achilles heel of the season. And going off that, give me NC State to upset Kentucky and move on here.
I really think that Kentucky's offense can be disrupted by putting a five-man in the paint and being willing to switch when you're guarding defenders. Kansas did that against them in the Champions Classic, and they played drop coverage on Thiero in the second half. Kentucky has an answer for switches, though, and they utilize what's called a boomerang pass on their guards off and to get guards off balance. They're this is the fastest Wildcat team we've seen in years. And they get defenders off balance really fast, and they set up Reed Shepard in the triple threat form for his shooting options. So it's going to be difficult to deal with. But to me, it's fascinating with DJ Burns in this situation being that five-man because he can really exploit that front court that Kentucky has, which has been one of their Achilles heels this season, especially on defense. And then if you put him in that five position in paint, it can be really disruptive. So I'm going to go North Carolina State. I don't like it, but I'm going to go North Carolina State in this one just because I think they have the right pieces to do this. Kentucky's definitely the more talented team and the team that should win it. But I'm going to go for chaos here and I'm going to pick North Carolina State. Like this is nuts. I did not think about this until you guys advanced North Carolina State. If it goes Texas Tech, I'm going Kentucky. But if it's North Carolina State, I don't like that matchup. And that's a bad matchup. All right, let's go to Florida versus Marquette in this one, guys. What are you thinking?
I mean, if we had a fully healthy Florida team, I would say that they had an edge over Marquette. But with Handlogged out, probably a gas Florida team at this point. I'm going to go with Marquette. Moving on.
Caleb, what are your thoughts on this Florida versus Marquette matchup we put together?
Yeah, I kind of got to follow suit there. You got to look at Florida. They were able to bounce back in that game today and play a little bit better and get it closer. Auburn still ultimately got the win, but they were still able to get it back into contention. But like Maddie said, I think with a loss, and they're going to have some depth issues, and they're going to get gassed here. So I see Marquette getting the win here.
So, okay, so that will advance Marquette for our bracket, but I'm just going to point this out is that Florida does have some backups in that front court with Condon and a few other guys. Marquette's not the greatest rebounding team of all time, and Florida's winning the glass by almost 8 boards a game. Personally, I'd take the Gators in this one, and I think they're more than capable of doing it. They would have to defend without fouling, though, and that's going to be the key, especially the pace that Marquette plays at. So that one to me is more of a coin toss, but I definitely understand the Marquette advancement here in this situation. So that leaves us back at the top of the bracket, Houston versus Duke. Who do you guys like in this one to make the Elite Eight?
I'm going to go with Houston in this one. They've had that consistency all year. I think that's where Duke has really struggled. They've been up and down the season where they've had times that they look really good. They've had times where they've struggled. And I think if you look at these two teams comparatively, I'm going to move Houston on to the Elite Eight.
Maddie, who are you going with, Duke or Houston?
Oh,
Yeah.
this one's a hard one. This one's a hard one. I'm going to go with Caleb, though. I'm going to go Houston. Kelvin Sampson, I feel like, is the better coach when we have the matchup there.
I'm going to go Duke. And this is where I cut Houston off. I think they made the Sweet 16, but like to me, this is a very balanced Duke team that plays good enough defense and wins the glass. So they do a pretty effective job winning the glass, and I don't think they want to play. They'll play a little bit faster than Houston. I like Duke, but you guys have Houston advancing to the Elite Eight, so that's your pick. But I like Duke personally in this one. All right, so let's go on to our other Sweet 16 matchup, and that is Marquette versus North Carolina State. Who do we have advancing? I can't believe we got another 1-2 situation here. Who do we have advancing, Marquette or North Carolina State?
Let's start by Hail Mary. Let me take North Carolina State.
All right, it's not bad. This is a Hail Mary pick for sure. Caleb, is the magic run over for North Carolina State in the Sweet 16?
There's a lot to look at with these two teams, but I think Marquette's going to feel the burn, and NC State is going to move forward.
Oh, you guys are ridiculous. All right, I'm just gonna not allow this to go on, and I'm gonna say Jose Aguadaro is a good enough big man to take care of business and make sure that DJ Burns doesn't take over the game. Yeah, I'm gonna be Aguadaro in this one in Marquette, but we'll advance North Carolina State, guys. To the Elite Eight. They have now won. What would that be in North Carolina? 1, 2, 3. They would won. That would be an 8-game winning streak for North Carolina State. They're going hot. They're feeling the burn. They're in Raleigh. All right, so that makes our Elite Eight matchup: Houston and North Carolina State. What do you want? Who do you like? Who do you like here? Because this is crazy. Who do you got?
Give me Houston here. All ridiculousness out of the way, whether it's Marquette or whether it's NC State. I'm gonna go with Houston getting at least to the Final Four in this one.
Caleb, are we still feeling the burn here against Houston?
Unfortunately not. I think Houston's going to take care of that and move forward.
Okay, so if that is the matchup, I would go Houston, but I've already eliminated Houston with Duke. So, all right, so that's what we got there. Good grief. Yeah, I think Houston's defense is way overwhelming for just DJ Horn to overcome it, and then DJ Burns. Not enough for two guys. Not enough for two guys. Houston forces you to make a lot of tough passes, and I think that's a difficult situation for North Carolina State if that's the game.